Since the pandemic began, Vice President Pence has been both more visible and vocal as chair of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. But recently, the vice president has said that the upcoming election is a choice between freedom and opportunity versus socialism and decline.
Pence's rhetoric reflects a broader effort by the Trump campaign to paint Biden as a leftist, who Pence said has, quote, aligned himself with the socialist Bernie Sanders and the radical left wing of the Democratic Party. God, I wish that was true. Here to weigh in on the vice president's remarks is Trump campaign manager Marc Lauder. Great to see you, Marc.
Good to see you, Marc.
It's good to see you guys.
So look, I've looked at the polling on this, and it's not just, look, I am a leftist, and I would like Biden to move more to the left, and I think his unity task forces thing were mostly a gimmick and didn't actually move the needle that much at all. He doesn't support Medicare for all. He doesn't support defunding the police. He doesn't support the Green New Deal. But it's not just me. I looked at the polling, and voters actually see him as more moderate than President Trump. So why do you think that this is going to work?
Well, the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden has said that he wants to defund the police. He called police the enemy.
He has not said that.
He has talked about taking money away from the police, which is defunding
Marc.
the police. He's also said take money away from the police and reallocate it, which is defunding.
He did not say that.
He's got
but anyway, go on.
He's got a version of the Green New Deal. He wants to eliminate energy jobs. Look, this campaign by Joe Biden resembles Weekend at Bernie's 3. Joe Biden is the empty shell. Bernie is pulling all the strings, and that's because he outsourced all of his policies to Bernie Sanders. And you see them rewriting the Democrat platform as we speak. So we've seen, and Bernie Sanders has even said, he has dragged Joe Biden further to the left, and he is the most progressive Democrat to run in a generation or more, and that's true.
And so it's interesting, Marc. I mean, we spend a lot of time here. It's a right-left show. I spend some time talking with Bernie people as well, and they don't actually agree with much of what you're saying. So how do you square with that? As Crystal said, I mean, the actual Bernie people that we talk to, many of them think that they've been let down by the Biden campaign, who's pursuing a more middle-of-the-road strategy. So if that were true, don't you think that they would be more satisfied, or is it all a cover? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think from the right, when you talk about Joe Biden, who's already proposed twice as many tax increases as even Hillary Clinton was proposing, he's even talking about energy policies, economic policies, more radical than what Hillary Clinton was proposing. You've got a very radical candidate in Joe Biden. And if the far left of the Democrats don't think it's left enough, well, just wait. They'll pull him even further because, as we have seen, he actually doesn't have any convictions right now. This is a man who turned his back on a lifetime of opposition to taxpayer-funded abortion to now he supports taxpayer-funded abortion up to the moment of birth.
And Marc, I mean, we've also seen a long history from Joe Biden of tacking to the center, of advocating for budget cuts and things that, I really disagree with, like on Social Security and Medicare. And the other part of why I think this argument doesn't land is, look, the American people actually want the government to do a lot right now. We've seen the numbers move in favor of Medicare for all. We were digging into some of the numbers on the coronavirus economic response. They want the government to spend a lot of money to make sure that people are going to be okay through this time. So it seems to me that not only do they not really buy that Joe Biden is this radical leftist Marxist, just being puppeted by Bernie Sanders, but also they actually kind of want something that looks a bit more like the Bernie Sanders plan than let's clamp down on debts and deficits and let's have austerity, which has been the traditional Republican line.
Well, I think there's a difference between what the response to the coronavirus and overall policy. And even on the Medicare for all, what you saw is that they love the slogan, but as soon as you start telling people what it means and how much it's going to cost, they actually don't like it because they realize that you're going to have government pinheads and bureaucrats making decisions for your health care and not you and your doctor, because you won't be able to keep your doctor. You won't get services that you want when you believe you need them. And so as people learn more and more about these policies, they're against them. And I think as people learn more and more about Joe Biden and his new, more progressive, radical policies, they're going to dislike that as well.
So, Marc, what do you think your chief your chief obstacle in the campaign is so far? Is it the economy? Is it coronavirus? We have recent Fox News polling which says that 29% of American voters say that coronavirus is the top issue for them in the 2020 election so far. The other, say 15%, is with the economy. Which is the way that you're looking at it? President Trump's approval rating vis-a-vis Joe Biden on both of those accounts is underwater. However, he's less so underwater amongst the economy. What do you think?
Well, and I think as we're dealing with this economic, the calamity of the coronavirus, as we still move through the coronavirus recovery efforts, I think you'll see the focus shifting more and more back to the economy. And that's where President Trump is strong. But they're also going to see that President Trump's leadership got us to where we are. So as we develop the therapeutics, as hopefully we have positive news on a vaccine and getting that vaccine out to the American people before the end of the year, people will see that leadership, and I think that will refocus this into the as we head into November.
And finally, Mark, can you give us a little bit of a preview of how you're thinking about the RNC? What are the plans for the convention? How is that all going to unfold given the restrictions of the pandemic?
Well, I think what you're seeing is that we're preparing for all possibilities. So we have plans in place for an indoor rally convention. We have plans in place for a potential outdoor convention. And we'll let the situation on the ground kind of dictate where we go. But the one thing is we want to make sure that our delegates are safe, people who are coming to participate are safe, and ultimately the world and the country gets to see the president's message and the energy that we have for reelecting him in November.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for the update. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Mark.
No, thank you.
Next on Rising, debts and deficits or immediate relief to Americans in need. Congress is talking about the economy, and we're going to too. That's when Rising continues.